Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about the endless supplies, the AMC forecast, FTD reliefs, and many more in this video. First, we take a look at this. So Charles Gasparino made a tweet saying, now check the price of AMC stock that they tried to pump. Sad. So we've always known what his opinion on AMC is, and the fact that he never covers the full story. When you do take a look at the price of AMC, yes, it's dropping. But when you understand the full context of what is happening, such as the fact it's because you're throwing supply at AMC that doesn't exist. AMC is a ticking pressure bomb of short sellers waiting to lose their asses, and GME will be the tipping point to cross the threshold where market makers lose their fucking asses on everything. And so this is what we talked about. No one ever covers the full story of what's happening with AMC. It isn't to say that AMC is the best company out there. Of course, it will have its pros and cons. But when we take a look at the price of AMC dropping, we have to understand what the reason is. Is it because people are actually unhappy with AMC and therefore selling their shares? Is it because AMC is making bad decisions? Or is it other factors such as they've always put synthetics on the market? There's always constant over leveraged shorts that they can never, of course, settle. They use cryptos to locate. And more importantly, the fact that the price dropping isn't because of people selling, because when we take a look at the data, when we take a look at the OBV, at the filings, what you will find to see is that institutions are firstly buying, they're barely selling, they're buying into AMC. Secondly, the people who have bought AMC from the start has never sold their AMC shares, but actually bought more. So every factor that we can see for AMC is showing that the price obviously should be going up, but it's actually going down because of the suppression. And like I said, that's why we need to understand the full context of what is happening. And again, the price of AMC dropping isn't a reflection of what this investor sentiment is, but rather a reflection of what the institution suppression and manipulation is out for AMC. Because when you take a look at this, as the box office nears its full recovery, which is what happens Q2 and beyond, it's a good moment to remind yourself where we are in the journey, why get shaken out here. So this is a very clear example of why people just never sell their shares and why institutions are buying. Because when you take a look at the view of the fourth quarter rolling year domestic box office, forward views are of course a forecast. But if you've seen the movies coming, you understand my confidence in it. The TLDR business is improving and very fast. So when you look at the projections of going into the future and you take a look at what's happened in the past, you'll see that the reason why AMC didn't in terms of perform last year was because of the strike impact. Now, this is something that we have, of course, talked about. This is something that's been factored in, and is why we talked about why institutions are willing to still buy into AMC. They realized that the drop in terms of AMC's performance was because of a strike impact as opposed to what the natural market is saying, as opposed to potentially bad business management made by AMC. That is not the case. The case was because it was affected by the strike. And they also know now that we are no longer affected, our projection is obviously way higher. And so this is what we talked about of why people aren't willing to sell their shares, why institutions are buying AMC, because they understand that for AMC, it's only going to be up in the future. Now, like we talked about, this is only forecast. There definitely will be other factors involved, but nevertheless, we know that AMC is obviously doing very, very well. Now, let's take a look at this. So there it is. Market makers Little Trading requested relief of FTD closeout obligations by submitting an irrevocable creation order to an AP of an ETF before trading hours of the closeout requirement date. Meaning, market makers can fulfill FTD requirements temporarily by using the ETF creation approach, sending a creation order to an AP who is called a authorized participant. The AP is in charge of the ETF. For example, Citadel can avoid FTDs by sending a creation order to XRTAP. Once they receive the order and make creation unit of AMC and GME shares, the SEC can't enforce Rule 204 closeout requirements no more. So it's very interesting that we are seeing this. For those of you who've been paying attention, obviously what you can see was how the GME weight on XRT in terms of shares actually increased. So that's the first sign. The second thing was obviously we talked about recently in terms of how the SEC didn't want to give data of the GME FTDs because they quote that it will cause harm to certain individuals. And so, this is what we've said, and this is exactly the signs of the manipulation, the suppression that it's happening. Many times in the past, we have seen how there's always loopholes and how regulations are giving, turning a blind eye for institutions when it comes to things that will obviously harm them. And so this is just another way that they obviously are abusing. But like you said, just because they are able to get rid of it one time, it doesn't mean that it's gone forever. Just like we talked about the synthetics. Yes, they don't have to buy back the synthetics right now. Yes, they can hide the synthetics offshore, but it doesn't change the fact that they have created synthetics, and it will come to a time when they have to buy it back. The only way they don't have to buy it back is either if every single retail investor sell their shares and they become fully institutional owned, or if AMC goes bankrupt. When you take a look at the possibility of those two options, you understand that the chance of that is extremely, extremely low. And again, it's something that will never be, of course, happening. Furthermore, convert and swap AMC Entertainment Holdings tokenized stock FTX AMC to United States dollar USD. So something that is weird, which is what we're looking at here. So this is actually on Coinbase, where they're doing this: convert and swap AMC Entertainment Holding tokenized stock FTX AMC to USD. Now, something that we've obviously seen in the past before, and for those of you who don't know, essentially on FTX, the platform, they offered out these AMC Entertainment tokenized stock, where these tokens were supposed to be 1-to-1 against AMC. So by owning one of these tokens, you're technically owning a share of AMC, because what they're saying was that they had the shares available and it was backed all 1-to-1. Now, what wasn't mentioned was back then, they said they had over 400 million shares of AMC tokens, meaning that if it was backed 1-to-1, they need to have over 400 million AMC shares, which we knew it wasn't possible. But now you can see how you're able to convert it. Now, I'm not sure, and you guys can see the last update, January 10th, 2025. I am not aware of anyone who does happen to own these stocks in terms of these AMC tokens. I'm curious to if anyone watching this video, or if you own or know people who actually own these, and what happens when you're obviously converting this. What actually are you able to get money? Because it is something that I do want to look into, because if they're trying to get these tokens again, what is the reason? Are they trying to hide evidence? Are they trying to find more ways of locating? This is what we need to obviously know to understand further kind of the manipulation that's happening in the market. Now, another thing, who borrows 500,000 shares when US markets are closed? Someone was about to be effed up big time. That's who. So once again, we're seeing the shares of AMC being borrowed, and this was in a time where, of course, the market was actually closed. Why do they need this amount of shares when the market is closed? And this is, again, always what we talked about. When you see for AMC and GME, you will always see that even in times when markets are closed, we are still seeing things happen. And again, this has happened with AMC, this has happened with GME, and it's also happened with APE units in the past. For those of you who know, APE aren't on the market anymore, at least on the US market, but yet the stock, the cost to borrow for the APE shares are always constantly changing, or at least they were. Now, that's something that shouldn't be possible when a stock is no longer on the market, as is delisted. And furthermore, we also know about the European market. And so this is exactly what we talked about. They always are trying to do this, and it's a very clear sign that clearly something is happening for them to be wanting these shares of AMC when the markets are closed. Another way you can see this, you can see I was able to buy some GME on JPM Chase today, but they won't let me place any market orders, only limit orders. This practice should be questioned, since it likely means all limit orders are being sent to the dark pools, not the lit exchange, thus allows market manipulation. So plenty of things, and we talked about this. When an order gets routed into the dark pool, what it is that it doesn't contribute to the buy volume. So even if millions of people were buying shares of AMC. If all of that gets rooted in the dark pool, you actually won't see the price of AMC going up. And so when it's a limit order, it's very likely that these shares are being rooted into the dark pool. And that's what we are seeing right now. The fact they're only willing to place limit orders. And also because when it's in the dark pool, we can see how, of course, manipulation can happen. We talked about how Citadel internalizes their orders. And so when we see this, we're seeing what's happening right now. And so when you sum up everything we looked at with this video, firstly, limit orders only, borrowing more shares, the FTD relieves, we understand exactly what is happening. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.